with poetry is a great combination. You can use it in performance, you can use it in a classroom presentation, you can use it in your flute circle as an activity. They work very, very well together. In general, music together with poetry or storytelling is very widely used. There's actually a group called Playback Theater, which uses storytelling, improvisational storytelling, accompanied with music, all improvisational, as a form of therapy. And it really works very, very well. So you're going to put together poetry and flute. Where do you get the poetry? Well, we've collected a lot of poems that work really well, poems and readings, and we've put them in the Native Flute Handbook. If you're not familiar with the Native Flute Handbook, go get it. It is 500 plus pages, freely downloadable PDF. You can get it on nativeflutehandbook.com. Go there, sign up, provide your email, and we'll send you a link to the Native Flute Handbook. If you're a member of our newsletter, you are already getting newsletters every month that have links to the Native Flute Handbook. If you go to Native Flute Handbook and sign up for it, you'll become part of our newsletter. You can cancel at any time, of course, but you will get a link to download the latest version, the latest edition, which is the 9th edition currently. We put out one every year or two, and we always send out links to everybody who signed up with it for the Native Flute Handbook in the past for the new edition. And each one has more readings and poetry in the sections. A huge section in the back with all the readings and poetry, and it's divided up based on the setting. So there is readings for flute circles, there is readings on music, there's readings on silence, there's readings for memorial services, there's benedictions. So each chapter is oriented towards a particular setting that you might use these readings. So download that, you'll find plenty of readings in there, and of course, there are lots of sources for poetry and readings in general. So go get those, and then how do you put it together with flute playing? Well, of course, the first thing is listen. Listen to the reading over and over again and get a feel for the type of emotion and the type of ambiance that you want to set. Okay? This is not about annotating the music with sound effects. Okay? The first impulse I had was let's add spice to the reading with sound effects. And that it doesn't really work all that well with native flute, I think. Now, you could give it a try, certainly. And there are music forms that do exactly that. Kabuki theater in Japan, absolutely wonderful. Vera and I go to Kabuki whenever we go to Japan, and we don't understand what's going on, but it's so entertaining because the musicians are annotating everything that's happening on stage, and it's usually very active. And every motion and every hit and every time somebody runs, the music follows it exactly with drum hits and cymbals and claps and all these specialized instruments. And of course, it's very, very carefully scripted. The musicians know exactly what's going to happen. And so they're right with the performers. That's a great form. That's kind of not what we're doing with the flute. It doesn't work all that well. Really, the two forms come down to a question of, do you want to A, do a duet with the person who's reading? Do you want to go back and forth between the music and the flute playing? As if you do a duet with another flute player, you could play, the other flute player plays, you could play, the other person plays. Well, you're doing that now in a duet form, back and forth with the person who's reading. That's one way to do it. The other way is play continuously underneath the reading. Okay, and there's pros and cons to both of those. If you're going back and forth, you have to prepare with the person who's reading. Often people who are reading poetry will read continuously, just the way I'm talking. There's no room to put your flute in there, right? So you have to establish, practice, and find out what works with the person who's reading in order for them to leave space to go back and forth for you to put your playing in there. The other way is to play continuously underneath the reading. And the challenge there is not to disturb the reading, not to get in the way of hearing the reading, all right? And not compete with the reading, but augment the feeling, right? And so we have an example coming up. This is an example of Chief Dan George's prayer. Chief Dan George, Coast Salish member, Order of Canada, very a decorated Native American who he was in movies with Dustin Hoffman and Clint Eastwood. He was in Little Big Man, a real character and an incredible writer. He wrote this prayer, and it's being read by Richard Nash, great storyteller. And we did this a couple of years ago, and we took the approach that's a combination of the two that I described. The going back and forth, you'll hear the going back and forth between the music and the readings, but I'm also playing underneath Richard's storytelling voice, but I'm using a steady drone. Now you'll actually hear a very low steady drone throughout the whole piece, but when Richard is speaking, I go into a chord and hold that chord while he's speaking. And that's kind of a compromise between the two. So the rest of this video is just that audio track that we put together a couple of years ago and some images that I found on public domain images that I'll put over the top of it. So enjoy the rest of the video, Chief Dan George's prayer, and we'll see you at the next Flutecast. Bye now.
Native American prayer, also referred to as Chief Dan George's prayer. O Great Spirit, whose voice I hear in the winds, whose breath gives life to all of the world, hear me. I am small and weak. I need your strength and wisdom. Let me walk in beauty and make my eyes ever behold the red and purple sunset. Make my hands respect all of the things that you have made, and my ears sharp to hear your voice. Make me wise so that I may understand the things that you have taught my people. Let me learn the lessons you have hidden in every leaf and rock. I seek strength, not to be greater than my brother, but to fight my greatest enemy, myself. Make me always ready to come to you with clean hands and straight eyes. So when life fades, as the fading sunset, my spirit may come to you without shame. Mitakuye Oyasin. It is so.